And all right. Hello, and welcome to episode 65 of the Extreme Hardware Podcast. Today we are joined by, mostly normal people, I hope. Starting with Frick Frock.
Hello, how are you?
We've got Alex.
Hola.
We've got Jack.
I'm normal.
Yeah, and I'm Simmons. Let's just get right away into our first topic. So, a few days ago, we just received some potential leaks. They're calling them leaks. There's nothing official from AMD. It's just information about the new AM5 socket that's coming out. It's going to have 1,718 pins. DDR5 support, which we knew was going to be coming. 28 PCI Express lanes, which is an additional +4 over Zen 3. And 120 watt to 170 watt TDP is what they're expecting on the initial socket release. Now,
sorry, what was the last one? 125 to what?
120 to 170.
170. So that means, that's just completely speculative based on speculative stuff, but that means it's going to be shared with Threadripper?
Potentially. If Threadripper is going to be anything to go by, it's basically just going to be two of these CPUs like doubled essentially. So I expect the TDP to be on the higher side for Threadripper.
Oh yeah, of course.
Now, the part that a lot of people are latching onto, like the only thing that we have to go by with this is this render of what the bottom of the CPU, the theoretical CPU, is going to look like. And because there's no pin soldered to it, everybody's expecting it to be an LGA socket versus a PGA socket. Or a zero insertion force socket, I should say.
Zero? Is that what its official name is?
Yeah, ZIF sockets, zero insertion force. Basically, AMD CPUs with the pins soldered to the bottom of the CPU.
No, I know. I just didn't know it was called ZIF socket or zero insertion force.
Yeah. However, I'm going to be the outlier and say that's an absolutely bullcrap claim because we're just looking at the solder pads on the bottom of the CPU. They can just very well go in and retroactively add pins after the fact.
I actually prefer LGA than PGA. Is it PGA? The pins, basically. Yeah, no, I was thinking BGA. It's definitely not BGA, obviously. But I prefer LGA just because I know a lot of people say, yeah, it's much easier to repair an AMD CPU than an Intel motherboard, and honestly, you're absolutely correct. Except I've honestly never ever had to repair an Intel motherboard myself because they're not nearly easily as damaged. When they are damaged, yeah, you probably got much more serious damage. But every AMD CPU I've had, I've accidentally bent a pin because I think every CPU I've had, I have definitely dropped. Not much. It's like, I'm putting it in, the computer's on the floor, and I drop it from me kneeling down height onto the floor. But there's always bent a pin for me. And there's always that risk of, oh god, am I going to snap the pin when I try and use the credit card to align it and stuff like that?
Yeah, I understand that perspective, but honestly, I just due to my history with killing motherboards,
oh goodness, do you want to talk about my history with bad motherboards?
No, I just mean like damaging anything like socket or CPU related. I've had worse experiences repairing an LGA socket.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like the LGA one is much worse to repair. That's no question about it in my mind, but it's much less likely to be damaged. And I would take that trade-off simply because I'm better at handling motherboards than CPUs, apparently.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, admittedly, the only circumstance where I actually killed an LGA motherboard was when I accidentally sheared off some capacitors in the process of trying to solder on those capacitors. I ended up slipping and jamming the soldering iron into the CPU socket.
Ooh.
So, that motherboard was dead as dead could be. So
yeah, no, my motherboard issues, I don't want to get too off of a topic, but I do find it very funny. My 790FX from the AM3 platform caught fire. My P8, P6, 7 has the infamous dual boot issue, which actually isn't that awful. And this is my second Z390. First one, the BIOS bricked itself. Sorry, two BIOSes bricked themselves. And now this one, the amp up USB ports have killed themselves
Wow.
because they amped up too much.
Ah, yes.
Hype is too strong.
No, I actually looked it up. Apparently, so, it's like if you've seen motherboards with the DAC isolated, you can control the voltage on these USB ports. Apparently, Gigabyte's implementation frequently dies.
Even if you don't increase the amperage and voltage or whatever?
Yep. So I left it at default 3.3 volts, and it died one day, potentially taking, or it did take my DAC at that time with it. And even when putting it to no power mode and then using a new DAC amp that doesn't draw power from the USB ports, still doesn't work. So power and data are dead for those. Probably the controller or something.
Didn't that happen when you weren't even at home?
Yeah, I wasn't even at home. It happened over the weekend, and I've got a UPS, by the way, which all of the stuff is plugged into.
Yeah.
And it's not like the DAC at that time drew a lot of power. It drew like 8 watts, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah, for USB 3, that's not much at all.
Oh, didn't they announce that new USB-C spec as well?
Hey, good segue, actually.
You can tell Frick Frock does stuff with his voice.
I do
for
the
a living.
things.
He does the things with the voice. That's really funny. Yeah, so this article was posted on the EHW forums by Avocado. So the USB Foundation has announced the USB Type C 2.1 specification.
Oh no.
So really,
I don't like that name.
So yeah, the name sucks. The only real significant change here, it has nothing to do with the transfer speeds. It's only the power delivery. So transfer speeds are allegedly staying the same.
Oh, I've seen this, yeah.
But allegedly this can support up to 240 watts of power transfer.
But the amps are the same, aren't they?
No, amps are increasing. It's still most likely going to be 5 volt.
Wait, I thought the amps were going to stay at 5.
No, you're thinking of the volts.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, no, because the volts are going to stay at 5, and then the amps are just going to continue to increase with that 5 volt specification.
Oh boy.
So
what are we at? 240 div 5? What is that?
80 amps.
Oh boy, that's a lot. That's a lot of amps for some really thin knockoff Alibaba cables.
Yeah, right.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking forward to you because eventually what's going to end up happening is like Apple and Samsung are going to eventually start shipping out their little charger dongles that will not even remotely come close to supporting this kind of wattage.
It's already really hard finding USB-C cables that are, and we don't actually. I know Chris loves ranting about this, but we don't really have a big. Oh goodness, as much of a diversity with USB-C cables at the moment, but we still do have quite a bit of diversity. And holy crap, trying to find one, a third-party one, that would support Tiffany's laptop for charging in terms of wattage. It's all over the place for numbers, and she's only got a MacBook Air, which draws 60 watts, I think.
Do you know what is honestly
so many cables, even on Amazon, which I know is just AliExpress 2.0.
Yeah.
They just don't list the wattage. And it's like, I don't trust you. And even if they do list the wattage, they like make a whole bunch of typos in other places. And it's like, I don't know if I trust you. You do say 60 watts, but
you know, if I would be perfectly honest, the only charging cable like for the high, I think it's like what the current spec is 100 watts maximum.
I think a bit more because I've seen 120 on.
Sure, but the only like standalone USB-C cable that I trust with that kind of charging capacity is those OnePlus branded cables.
Dude, I'm saying like I get all my
bought
cables
an Anchor cable
from Monoprice, and I've never had an issue.
Well, yeah, no, that's completely fair. Like Monoprice cables are actually quite good. There's also
they source their own stuff.
Mono Cable here, I think. It's very similar to the Monoprice name, but they carry really good cables. I can't get them because I don't have a car.
Oh,
yeah. So,
Jesus.
by the way, I haven't had a car for like 3 years now because I'm very poor. Actually, I find it funny that I'm too poor to own a car. It's like really bad here in Toronto, and I feel like I am great on going on tangents, but I'm in the weird bracket of I can afford a cheap car, but that cheap car will cost more to maintain or more to keep running because of the insurance costs than just buying a decent car, like saving up. Like you have to have daddy's money in Toronto.
Yeah, well, because the real estate market there is just ridiculous as well.
Oh my goodness. No, so it's so funny. Like translating to our other currencies, a cheap house here is about $800,000.
Oh
You're
my
gonna get
god.
you're gonna get a 1-story bungalow with no basement, with no garage, no backyard, and on a busy street for $800,000.
Oh.
To buy a 2-story with a basement and a garage that's fully detached, you're looking closer to 3 million.
So wait, that's Canadian, right?
Canadian, yeah. So
But that's
divided,
still absolutely insane. That's like what,
Yeah.
2.4 million?
yeah, roundabout, yeah.
What the?
That's
that's
actually
like
a bit
trying to
more
buy a
now,
house in
'cause-
New York City.
No,
No, it's
dude, the
exactly
housing
that.
prices, like, if you think that's crazy, you should look at the housing prices in New York.
No,
Obscene.
frick, that's what Toronto's now. Convert like dollar for dollar, so we're about 30% cheaper, but it's the same, $3,000 for like a 1-bedroom in downtown core and all that kind of stuff. Like the property market is the same here as it is there because lots of political reasons, really, and the pandemic hasn't helped.
What in the absolute hell?
There's
Yeah.
this really Critical did this really great video about this horrible $39 million apartment in New York.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, and
What's
I'll
the
see if I can get
address?
a quick link for it. But basically, the features that they were listing made
Fireplace.
0 sense. Like, so here, okay, here's the link for it. You can take a look at
I was
it.
gonna say this is honestly,
big
Frick,
tangent.
Frick. I want to postpone this tangent towards after show because I've been keeping up with Critical's coverage, well, Twitch coverage, I should say, on this kind of shit, and it's absolutely hilarious.
Can
It's
I ask
nuts.
just one question? What's the address?
778
hang on,
Park
the
Avenue.
address is Upper East Side, Manhattan, 11 East 68th Street.
That's a different one.
Oh, what's the building number though?
11 East 68th. I think 11 is the number.
Yeah, it's one of those super towers, essentially.
Okay. No, I was just wondering where it was in
Yeah.
New York City.
But anyway, so yeah, aside from so going back to USB-C, I guess.
Oh yeah, big tangent.
Yeah, so I want to actually place a small wager among us. Who do you think, or how long do you think it's going to be until we start seeing people get these ridiculously high-powered like AC to DC converters, and then either the converters are going to start exploding, or the wires are going to start just overheating? How long do you think that's going to take?
I think that's day one. You
Yeah.
can never tell, because how many, if you look at like fail safes or any sort of cables, right? Especially like cheap, crappy ones, how many of them have any fail safes or whatever?
They don't.
There was a while, this was a long, long time ago, where like there was a device called like a USB killer, where it would just completely overpower
yeah.
the bank of a USB port and just
Oh.
destroy the whole computer.
Oh yeah,
And tons of computers weren't even protected against that.
well, yeah,
There were no protections.
I know what you're talking about. It's basically just a USB stick, but on the inside, it's just a capacitor bank.
Yeah, and there was no protection.
Yeah.
You would think, like, but then again, that had never existed before then. And now there are protections against it. But up until then,
No, but
nobody had
even
ever thought
then-
that'd be a thing.
Yeah, even then, a lot of especially like laptop hardware can still get just destroyed by it. It is a good test for that. I think. I mean, it's not super relevant, but it's super interesting. I'd like to see more channels test that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think anymore, you're more at risk of just killing a single USB controller rather than the entire motherboard.
You think
Yeah,
so?
I mean, look at my motherboard.
Yeah. Well, no,
Actually, I don't
because
know why it died.
because the primary safety protection that I've observed is literally just a short protection, and
Yeah.
those capacitor banks are doing a lot more than just shorting the USB port.
Here's my question though: if you, because there was a while ago, the reason those came to such prevalence is people were using those to short out their laptop so they could upgrade it and get it under a new warranty.
Yes.
So if like there was
Ooh.
something, some companies had this a policy where they give you like a 2-year warranty, 1-year warranty or something. So what people were doing was they would like wait till like the last month of the warranty, use that shorting out thing, and then get a free one that's upgraded.
I honestly can't. Yeah, I think that's. Well, I don't want to say that's right, but I think they would have to honor it. How would you
yeah.
prove it?
I was gonna say, I mean, if it's any consolation, I sabotaged my work computer from my last job, so they would finally upgrade the damn thing that was 4 years out of warranty.
I kind of want to do that actually. So I'm actually really, really pissed off with my work. So what they did is they pushed everyone to get a laptop upgrade because we've been screaming for a laptop upgrade for ages, right? Because we are technically developers. and they've given us literal reception laptops, like the i3 2 cores at 1.3 gigahertz because it's the ultra power saving model with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gig SSD.
And it only
which
needs
is
like a 50-watt barrel jack to
all
charge
the programs
the damn
we
thing.
run Java, and they used to run Flash, but now it's all Java. And oh my goodness, Java loves fast cores and RAM, which we have neither of. So what they did is we were pushing for upgrades because our old laptops were, well, that. And all they did is basically upgrade us to Coffee Lake i3 plus 8 gigs of RAM plus 128 gig SSD. And I think you'll know from Skylake to Coffee Lake, there really wasn't much improvement. Like, it's 10% faster, which I don't care. I need more than 2 cores. I don't care that it's got hyperthreading now. It's still slow as crap. So as soon as a whole team managed to get upgrades, like over the course of a year, 1 month later, they announced that, like, oh yeah, now we're going to be going on to this model of laptop. And it's a Ryzen with 6 cores and 12 threads and 16 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, they did that on purpose
Which
so that they
none
could get
of
the
us
good ones.
qualify for now another 3 years. And it's just like, what the hell? So annoying. But
there's gonna come a point where they're just gonna have this massive walkout. It's like, fuck it, we can't do our job.
Well,
Like, if you're there's a point where having outdated software is a benefit. Like, a lot of government buildings, a lot of hospitals are running like Windows 98 because that's the newer software doesn't support that.
Brick, our company was behind the government essentially, because we have a lot of government clients, and they were like, "Wow, you guys are running this old software," and we were like, "We know." It's like, it's really bad
even when
for
the
a government
government's calling you
organization.
out.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so in regards to like sabotaging my work computer, because at my last job I was maintaining an Excel database of our entire hardware inventory, and with that we needed to make it pretty, so then when the execs wanted a copy of it, they could just go to a couple tabs that we had set up that had all of the auto filtering, the auto selection and stuff along those lines. And my computer was about 9 years old, and it was just one of those like HP OEM computers for the office. So but what I needed to do, because I needed to keep working until I could finally convince somebody that this was a problem, I basically just ripped the pins out of the fan for the CPU controller, or for the CPU cooler, so it killed the fan. And basically what I did is I ghetto ducted like a small box fan into my computer, and when I finally got PC support to come over to look at it, they're like, okay, what the hell is going on here? And I explained to them that, yeah, the CPU fan died and my computer's overheating, and I can't, and I'm basically I proved to them that everything was just thermal throttling to hell. And they're like, okay, we'll get you a new computer. And then at that point, they actually did something about it.
So what's interesting is our work prevents that by, those anti-tamper stickers? They stick a whole bunch of their own custom-made anti-tamper stickers all over the laptop.
Well, that's the thing. This was a tower, so I got away with it.
Well, they do it on the towers too, of which there's like 3 in the whole office, but none of us working from home can get one.
Well, so for the networking team, they didn't really monitor like any sort of tampering, because there were numerous occasions where we would have to just add in GBIX expander cards so we could interface with some of our hardware.
Just out of interest, I'm not sure I can say this fully, but you used that monitoring software which was very outdated that I also used, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're still on that. Because it turns out that's still one of the best for voice.
Well, that's your first problem. All right. so
that's where you messed up, see?
Yeah. VoIP is the bane of all network engineers.
Oh my goodness. I know so much Cisco UC stuff now by mistake. I don't know how I feel about that.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just switch over to our next topic before we drag this out too long. But in terms of other hardware news, Marvell has, by when I say Marvell, I mean the actual storage company, Marvell.
Well, yeah, they've been making storage stuff for ages. I don't remember it being decent, but
I have to specify, because if you say Marvel any days, they think of the freaking superheroes.
You see,
really?
I'm the wrong kind of
yeah, no
nerd. I was thinking the storage company first.
Like, I have a lot of faith in our audience, but I have to still say it.
My Marvel.
So Marvell has announced their first PCIe 5.0 NVMe SSD controllers. So they've announced two different specifications for these controllers, specified as SS1331 and 1333. The host interface is a PCI Express 5.0 Gen 4. On the NAND interface, depending on which variant you get 8 channels at 1600 megatransfers per second, or 16 channels, 1600 megatransfers per second. And the entire point with that is maximizing IOPS.
Yeah. What if I remember correctly, the power consumption on that's quite high.
8.7 watts for the lower spec controller and 9.8 watts for the higher spec controller. But that's just the controller.
That feels like quite a lot for just a controller.
Now, based on the specifications that they've announced, we're looking at 14 gigabit per second or gigabyte per second sequential reads, 9 gigabytes per second sequential writes, 2 million IOPS reads, and 1 million IOPS writes. And then for virtualization, 16 physical functions and 32 virtual functions for both, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, like the big limiting factor here is the flash and making sure the flash is able to scale up with this. But honestly, what I foresee happening in order to increase like the IOPS is rather than doing large flash chips, it's going to be several smaller flash chips, and just being able to like do a RAID 0 type interface with the various chips just to make sure they're meeting this minimum specification until the flash improves.
No, I honestly think like with both Gen 4 now coming Gen 5, with regards to storage, I think it's gone a lot more away from raw speed to just caring about lots of drives on the same amount of channels.
Right. Because right now the speed's not the real issue, it's the IOPS.
Gen 3 is fine as well. Completely honestly, the NVMe SSD I have, it's completely fine.
Absolutely.
Like the improvement from Gen 2 NVMe or PCIe storage was pretty big, and it is from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5 as well. But like I feel like real world performance differences aren't as noticeable.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say that's interesting, I'm going to post this image in Voice Lobby, and I'm going to put this up on stream as well. Okay. So this is the basically the prototype SSD that they're utilizing for their development. I think the fun thing about this is that is the standard M.2 interface on the bottom right, and look how much wider the thing actually is.
Oh,
Whoa.
I didn't notice that before.
Yeah. And I like this. I like this a lot, actually. Now, we know that as the technology matures a little bit more, it's going to go to the standard form factor again. But I really like these oversized PCBs. And quite frankly, I don't see any problems with this.
Is there any like heat benefit to having them that big, or does it not matter?
Well, I mean...
there is actually.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because do you remember like the... well, I suppose that's not really the thing, but like the bigger the nanometer as well, kind of the easier it is to cool because it's over a much bigger area, provided your contact patch is that big, I guess. But like the older dies that were bigger and less dense, even though they spit out a lot of heat, they were a bit easier to cool.
Because
you're distributing that heat over such a bigger area versus smaller areas.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's why. I do know that SSD controllers are actually getting more and more needing in terms of cooling now, especially as that thing consumes nearly 10 watts. So that might even be just... Could it just be a heat spreader? I haven't actually looked at the image, to be honest, but is it just a heat spreader?
No, so the actual controller it looks like an old school AMD CPU where it's a small die in the middle of a large ball grid array, solder ball grid array.
Yeah, you know what would help is if I open it. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's the flash that's the big thing.
Yes.
Oh, flash, that is some thick boy.
Now, actually, an interesting thing that they're including is, so for the DRAM that they're including on this thing, it is DDR4 3200 LP DDR4X 4266 with ECC. So those are your two options.
That
You
seems
read
kind
the-
of funny. PCIe 5 plus DDR4.
Did you read the text underneath the image in the article, though? Are you sure that's just normal NVMe?
I'm fairly certain. Oh no, wait, it's EDSFF form factor. You're right.
I don't know if that image is what that is talking about, but I'm just making that connection. I'm just assuming that's what that is.
So let's see here. EDSFF. Okay, yeah, that is a standalone form factor. Okay. But it does say, it says EDSFF family of form factors share the same protocol with NVMe and the same interface with PCI Express. So it is a different pinout, probably.
Yeah.
But still, I want M.2 drives that look like that because it makes sense.
Same. Yeah.
And honestly, with the cooling requirements that are going to be needed for this, I expect that the first implementation of this is going to be a PCI Express card with either the controller and the flash chip soldered to the PCB, or it's going to just be a standoff with a large heat.
Well,
like
we're going to go
heatsink.
back to that. I can't remember the name, but do you remember it was like 1 to 2 years where you could get that PCIe SSD that everyone's like, oh my goodness, this is the fastest thing ever.
Oh, you're talking about
the
the Intel one, yeah.
No, it wasn't Intel, but it was like I don't want to say Raid Max, but it was some edgy sounding company like that.
I know what you're talking about, though, yeah.
Well, no,
Raid Max Shadow Legends.
Well,
Not sponsored.
yeah.
It's probably said like military grade somewhere on the product page.
Yeah, no, because I remember with the Intel 750 series SSD, so that was when Intel put out their first NVMe, and it was in the U.2 form factor, and it was a PCI Express add-in card, essentially.
Yeah.
Where on the add-in card, all the memory controllers and the flash chips were soldered to a PCB that was just plugged in over PCI Gen 3 4X. Or you could just go with the extra tall SSD that was U.2 interface, and that's the one that I currently have. So
I actually really like the gumstick format that we've got now, the M.2.
Yeah. I can't wait to put one of these in my motherboard underneath the heatsink that comes with it without me taking off the thermal tape.
Haha, yes. See, I actually perceive that being the future, because like with the X570, when that chipset came out, all of the motherboard manufacturers were doing active cooling for the chipset, which made Chris really angry, which I thought was fun. But I feel like it's going to transition from needing the active cooled chipset to active cooled SSDs.
I don't like active cooled anything that like can be avoided. Just having a passive heatsink on like your motherboard or your VRM so much reduces dust. Maybe it's just me in my pollen-filled area, but like I really try and use as little fans as possible.
Yeah,
Understandable.
No, I feel that.
So yeah, I think that's enough to say about this one. So Jack, this is going to be your article. Unreal Engine 5 now available in early access.
Yeah, Unreal Engine is out. It's early access version 1 right now, and you could also get the Valley of the Ancient sample, which is 100 gigabyte download.
Oh,
If you want to mess with that. The
look
engine
at all
is
them
smaller.
gigabytes.
Or you said
there's a
100
couple-
gigs.
Yeah,
Wow.
for the sample project, not the engine. The engine, I don't know how big it is. I'm not going to right-click on the folder right now. There's a couple new technologies in the engine. They got Lumen for lighting and reflection and refraction. They got Nanite, which removes the need for level of detail, instance meshes, and all that. And there's also a new temporal super sampling technology, which is... I'm not going to say it's as good as DLSS, but I think it might be better because it's not so weird and janky. It's complicated. I don't know. I have to play around with it some more. And there's a couple other deep engine things that have been changed that I noticed when I listed out the console variables. And if you decide to mess with it, just download the Epic Games launcher and you could get it from there. Or you could get the source code version, which I still haven't done yet, and you could compile it yourself after you pull it off of GitHub. And there are some cool things I want to say about Lumen. For one, you don't need ray tracing hardware for it.
Oh,
And
nice.
2, it's more performant in software mode than it is in hardware mode. Which
Okay.
confused me because I was forcing all of the console variables to enable like hardware accelerated ray tracing. I was looking for that. I was like, set it to 1, set it to 1. And it was so slow. Put it back to 0 so it's in software mode, and now it's fast. I don't know.
That's so rather than offloading to the GPU, it's more efficient on the CPU.
Yeah, I guess that's what it does, or maybe it just does like a shader version instead of using the RT cores. I don't really know. Yeah, and the nanite thing is really neat. You could only use it for static and opaque geometry, which means you can't like use it for windows or like transparent stuff. But that might change in the future. But I did test it with a multi-million triangle mesh of a human for fun, from Daz 3D. And once I tweaked some stuff, it handled it like you could go into one of the visualization modes where it'll show like colored polygons, and like I was moving away from it, and it was just the polygons were getting bigger as I was moving away because it was just dynamic. It was just all of the triangles were changing, and it didn't look weird.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think.
What do you use to render that?
What do you mean?
What?
Hardware.
What was your setup? You said you rendered it, right?
Oh yeah. When I was using Unreal Engine 5, I got 5900X and a 2070 Super.
Okay. Oh. And how long did it take?
What do you mean? It's real time. It's Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, real
Oh,
time.
I thought you rendered it out. Okay, so you just
No.
did it, and you didn't like export it or anything.
No.
Okay.
I think the thing that I'm most intrigued about, and I know it's already a standardized feature, but basically this graphic that they have for Metasound here, I really like this flowchart aspect of just automating like audio or certain animations and certain just fun stuff along those lines. Like I'm glad they're sticking with this methodology for just managing intricacies and variables.
Yeah. The blueprint system, I love it. I loved it for just normal blueprints. I love it for making my own shaders and materials and stuff. I haven't messed with the Metasound yet, but yeah, I'm going to be like probably this week.
Well, I mean, because the only parallel I can make to this is, well, the one content creator who I know is very public about how he manages, his content is obviously Deadmau5, and he occasionally streams when he's not banned from Twitch, and it's really fascinating to just watch him doing these dynamically MIDI controlled variables for just doing like live production for his shows. And then he'll just do these like 10-hour binge streams of him just working on this shit, and he normally starts at like 6 p.m. or something, and he's still working at like 9 a.m. the next morning or something like that. It's
nice.
I've watched some of Deadmau5's streams. The guy is, I don't know if anyone's new to his stream. There's a reason that he's not like getting tens and 20,000 viewers, because I looked at it. He has like maybe 100, 200 viewers. And I was wondering why that is, because he's like one of the most famous DJs in the world. Simmons, if you had one word to describe Deadmau5's stream, what would it be?
If you're not a nerd, it's not entertaining.
It is unbelievably like dense and complicated.
This sounds right up my alley.
Oh no, I know. I learned actually quite a lot about Ableton and like music production from his streams, but that's like also a very specific area,
Absolutely. No, like specifically his streams lately have been regarding his live show, like visual production, because one of the
the cube thing.
So one of the big things that he has done with his shows, and he states that whenever he does a live show, he does not do the traditional DJ methodology, which
they're real-time generated, which is pretty neat.
So with the audio, he basically is live mixing the stems.
Neat.
Audio-wise, he basically tries to recreate the song there. It's like with the Ableton instance open, and then
correct, and
things like that.
And he has his own custom programmed UIs that he utilizes for interfacing with Ableton. But because Ableton,
it's tech. Yeah, okay. But so I know, because I tried that out a while ago, and it's interesting. It's not really his and Steve Duda's, if I'm thinking about the same thing.
It is, yes.
But it's so beta. Like,
Oh yeah, well. Here's the thing: is he made it? They made it for basically himself, and the only product that really came to life that was a true collaboration between him and Duda was Serum.
Serum's great, honestly.
but-
Compared, like, using flipping hell, what did we use before? It was like Silent or something.
Silent, yeah. Or Massive.
Oh, I don't like Massive.
But that's the thing is so as much as we love talking about LTT, LTT's video where he went to Deadmau5's
I don't think it did it justice at all.
It really didn't, but some of the interesting aspects that I picked out from that video was just some of the tools that he utilizes, and one of his big developer tools that he uses is like this defunct Microsoft product, which is just this massive touchscreen essentially that he uses for just doing live interfacing when he's testing stuff out at his house essentially. And he has his own custom like UIs and scripts, and it looks super rudimentary because he's the only one who's ever going to see it and touch it.
So that thing actually isn't defunct, and I only figured this out recently, or found this out recently. The F1 channel's using them.
No kidding.
It's just a business to business product usually.
Yeah, it's like I think it's like at the time it was like a $20,000 tablet or something, but it was like a 72-inch tablet.
It's meant for that, the weather forecaster or the person showing here's where he went off and like circles it on the screen. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it was like it was the predecessor to a smartboard more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the entire thing with the smartboards in the classroom is first of all the software.
Oh, that was so funny.
But
did your class have smartboards?
They did, but the software stopped working after several months, so they were just
How
projectors.
many teachers drew on them with Sharpie?
That happened a lot at my school.
Yeah,
and then one of the teachers was demonstrating like, don't go up to the board and write this after lessons, because everyone was like writing or drawing stupid stuff on the smartboard.
Yeah, drawing dicks.
Yeah. They were drawing dicks, but it was all with the smart pens, right? So you could just remove it.
Yeah.
And then the teacher was like, don't draw this, and then he drew a dick, but it was with Sharpie instead.
What I had at my school was one of the teachers who was new to like that sort of tech went to write on it with a Sharpie. Well, not a Sharpie, it was like a regular
like a
dry erase
whiteboard
marker
marker
thing.
Yeah.
And like everyone said like, oh, don't do that, use one of the special pens on the thing. And she just said, don't tell me what to do, I'm the teacher, you're the student.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So then we
That
basically
worked
all
out
just said,
well.
oh, okay then, and then fucking wrote on it with the dry erase marker, and it wouldn't come off.
Yeah, it doesn't come
No
off.
shit.
Yeah, you get the permanent
you know how
markers.
expensive those smart boards are, by the way? They're not cheap.
Yeah, they're like fucking
ours were
$3,000 each.
Yeah, I was gonna say ours were relatively cheap at around $2,000 each. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why those really haven't gotten adopted by schools. Everyone's still using dry erase.
I was gonna say the problem is that I'll only tangent on this a little bit longer. But the primary problem. Oh wait, we have a live feed of Ollie. I found out. Thanks, Chris. Bye, Chris. Yeah, Chris is not here because he's petting a dog.
Oh, the bobo.
But anyway, you get these technologies and softwares that are basically, you have this company with the big ambitions, and the company that ends up getting sponsored or gets the contract for providing all this hardware is the lowest possible cost. And
not just that, like a lot of the time these companies want things to like look fancy without any practical standpoint behind it. Like the first company I worked for we used to have triple monitors, which is amazing in IT, like triple 1080p thingamajiggies. They replaced them with ultra wide monitors.
Yep.
It's just like, and then we've got our wired keyboard and mouse replaced with a wireless one. And it's just like, why? Oh, because investors sometimes walk through the office and we want you to look nice. And it's like, but this is horrible. We work in like IT, essentially development / support.
Yeah.
And we use our keyboards and mice and monitors, a lot. I don't care that like Brenda from HR and accounting wants a wireless one because she likes wireless ones. This is now really impacting our job. It's stupid.
So funny enough, one of the recent implementations that I've been seeing for just like a cheaper form of implementation is just traditional projector, just a good quality projector.
What? In a classroom.
In a classroom, and then they use like a Microsoft Surface with with display mirroring, and then they just have the Surface on their podium or desk or whatever the hell, or they can walk around with it because that functionality exists.
So wait, the Microsoft Surface is actually good, not just like the most overpriced ad.
Oh my god, no! I love the Surface as a Windows laptop.
It's really good,
dude. I've never seen a company push a product as hard as Microsoft pushes the Surface. I can't count the amount of TV shows and movies I've seen that thing come up in like the most unnatural ways. Microsoft was doing this thing a while ago where they were trying to make Bing really big. So they would get all these TV shows to like write it into the script of like, oh, hey, if a character has to look for something online, just tell them to Bing it, and it's so weird.
Hey man, just search that on Bing. It's like, huh? Oh yeah, just Bing it, and it's like, what?
It was going to be called Bang.
Oh no,
that would have been much worse if Microsoft stuck to that.
That would have been really funny though. Like I feel like that would have caused it to take off a lot more.
Yeah,
well, no, I mean, one of the biggest food YouTubers of all time, Binging with Babish, actually
binging with Babish.
What did you just say, Chris? I mean, sorry, Frick, what did you just say?
Binging with Babish?
Babish? He's got a Babishka?
He's a Babishka boy.
No, it's binging with Babish.
No, it is Babish.
No, it's not. Like, the guy himself literally says, if I could have changed my name about 6 years ago, I would have.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's Babish.
It's Babish.
You will not insult the name of Babish like this.
Babish?
Binging with Babish. Frick, I'm so glad.
It's a good thing that they did change it from Bang to Bing, because banging with Babish wouldn't be allowed.
Oh my goodness.
Frick, I'm so glad you're back, man.
Frick, wait. Was that one of those things where those e-celebrities or whatever, they put up the Googling my name nonsense? Was it like that, but with binging?
Yeah, no, it was a whole thing. I don't know if like Surface was ever installed, but if you ever watch a like they have this, oh no, it's not just Microsoft. There was this thing a while ago where movie studios and movie production companies wanted to use iPhones.
Yeah.
And so Apple had a specific stipulation where villains could not be seen with iPhones.
Yeah. That was
funny.
Yeah,
no, that's still actually going on.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still a thing. No, but here's the thing with the Surface is, yes, they were really aggressive with the marketing because they kind of had to be. But
I think they were justified in being aggressive. I have a Surface Book, which is very close to the Surface.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good product.
And I've got the Surface Book too, and I love the thing to death.
Yeah. It's like the build quality rivals or beats Apple of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The screen is godly. The touchpad is amazing, and the keyboard for a laptop is great.
It's not bad.
The specs are
like it's not fantastic, but for a laptop, it's really good.
For the time, 2015.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. Think of 2015, like the MacBooks and the
keyboards that were just always dying on the MacBooks.
Yeah. No, it was an amazing product, and I think that they haven't changed the design since 2015 is a really bad idea, because now they've fallen behind Apple and even Dell in terms of like the overall.
Yeah, I wouldn't
quality.
say they've fallen behind Apple as far as design goes, considering Apple has been using the same design since like 2005.
Well, yes, but no. So they've fixed a lot of stuff with their keyboard, Apple have, and their touchpad has gotten a bit better and stuff like that. That's mainly what I'm talking about.
Oh, right, yeah. But
like
that's
they've made
not
improvements
design. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Like the overall materials choice, construction, and durability. Microsoft came out with a banging product in 2015, and they rested on their laurels, I think, a bit too much, because they shouldn't be using like the same chassis, keyboard, etc. in 2021.
Yeah. But I mean, even still, is like if when it comes to like my parents are always like, I guarantee like you have somebody that's like this for you guys. It's like, hey, you know something about computers?
Oh Jesus, no.
Yeah. So
your family's tech support.
Don't ever fix a family member's computers, because if something goes wrong, like 4 years after you fix it, they'll come and call you like, hey.
But that's the thing is like whenever I've had them ask me, is like, hey, what's a good laptop to get these days? It's like, okay, who's this for? Oh, it's for your mom. Okay, get a Surface.
No, but actually, you know what I hate with that is like, oh, what should I buy? You know, and you go, well, there's one of two things I actually hate with that. It's like, oh, you do A, B, and C. I recommend here's X or Y or Z, depending on your budget, you know? And they're like, oh, okay. And then you find out like 2 months later they went and bought something else for much more money.
Yeah.
And it's like objectively a lot worse.
Well, see, that's the thing is like when it's somebody like my mom, I will say, okay, get this single product. Oh, what about this other product? No. All right, get this product.
No. I mean, yeah, even if you do something like that, because my mom asked like, oh, what computer should I buy again? And I'm like, look, you've been using Macs since the 1980s. Maybe stick with an iMac.
Yeah.
You've gotten the iMac every single generation. So
I mean, hell, but with the most recent revision, I mean, like let's say that's a actual good recommendation.
No, I know.
But I know what you're saying.
Because like my grandparents are like, oh, should we get this or that, or should we buy a laptop? I'm like, look, you're not going to be on the go with your laptop at all. You just check your email. Please buy a Mac. Yeah. Please, you don't need anything. Just buy a Mac. It's so really, really easy
Grandpa needs
to just
AutoCAD
do
machine.
stuff in.
But
then they went ahead and bought like a custom built PC type thing from Dell, and every time they have issues with it, well, not custom, you don't mean pre-built stuff, but you could choose your own parts and stuff, and they just went and chose the cheapest parts, and because I recommended them a computer, now I have to do the support for it, even though I didn't recommend them this computer at all.
And I kind of want to save more of this rant for after show because I have a lot to say about that. So if you don't mind, I want to move on to our next article.
Oh yeah, I also ended up just building them a new computer instead of constantly supporting Dell's absolute bullshit. But,
good.
Yeah, and I was like out of my own pocket. I'm like, I can't let you guys experience this terribleness. So yeah,
so
I have to save you.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what to do with this.
So Andrews,
they should just get one of the new iMacs. It's got an M1. That's more than they'll ever need. It's relatively cheap.
Yep.
So Andrews.
Oh yeah, the M. Anyway, yeah, I don't want to interrupt too much.
Nah, you're good. So you added this Uncharted 4 topic. You want to just touch on this real quick?
Oh yeah, Uncharted 4 is probably coming to PC. I don't really care about that, and a lot of people don't really care about that, but it is a first-party exclusive, which means games that people do care about for the most part, like Bloodborne and Gran Turismo.
Assetto Corsa. Sorry, not Assetto Gran Turismo.
Yeah, Assetto Corsa is already on PC.
Sorry, I just got completely confused. But yeah, I would love Gran Turismo to come to PC.
So
no, I think
so good.
Yeah, I think there is a pretty high chance of that happening now that like a bunch of PlayStation exclusives are coming to PC because
But I honestly wonder if it's not so much a Sony thing, but a polyphony thing.
No. A couple of years ago, they were developing ray tracing using RTX for a console that they knew was going to use AMD and not support RTX.
Well,
so maybe it is.
Well, AMD does support RTX. AMD does support the same DXR ray tracing. So
oh, no, yeah, they do ray tracing, but not the RTX one specifically or something. I don't know how that works.
No, RTX is DXR.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just difference. RTX is more of a name for like, well, it is that, but it's more a name for like the CUDA core like accelerators.
Yeah, it's the NVIDIA branding.
Yeah, in 2018 they did show off that sort of thing. So and they are developing on PC and the consoles are x86, so it pretty much just is copy and paste over like these days compared to how it used to be.
Right. Now the interesting thing about this is the next gen VR that they're referring to.
Yeah, that is another thing which is also neat.
So I will speak just specifically from the Beat Saber perspective. So the biggest problem with PSVR in its current implementation is because it's basically using the iJoy dildo controller. And I'm not afraid to say that because
I am not ashamed.
But the iJoy implementation for PSVR uses basically an illuminated soft plastic ball on the tip.
So bad.
And the tracking of this historically has been really garbage. And
not just the tracking, but just like
the controller doesn't feel great either.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, so we had the PlayStation 3 implementation of the iJoy trackers, and for the time it was really good, but it didn't really improve at all. Now, what I find interesting though is, at least from this slideshow, and I'm going to put this up on screen real quick. The controllers that they have here in their render reminds me a lot of like the Quest controllers, but what's weird about it is that rather than just having the little loop around where your fist would be, it's a full like wrist ring, which I find really strange. Especially for people who are doing like the rhythm game kind of stuff, like Beat Saber or Boombox VR is the other new one. A lot of people don't like the standard like wand style grip.
I hate it. Like, that's what I was actually kind of going to kind of get into, really, is having used PSVR, the Rift, and the Quest, not the Quest 2, and obviously my Index. Soon as you use the Index controllers compared to any of the other controllers, you're just like, oh, duh. It like Valve has figured this out. This is the best way to do a controller. It grips you. You don't grip it.
It grips you.
It does.
It does. No, so I can let go of it and it's still in my hands. Like, this is brilliant. Next to gloves, this is the next best thing. And
it makes throwing things in VR games really easy.
Yeah, and then like I've gone back to the others and I'm just like, oh, why? This is so stupid.
Well, so here's another graphic I'm going to put up real quick, and this is regarding just some commonly used grips in the Beat Saber space, of just how like alternate ways that people will hold their controllers. I'll post the image in group chat for you guys. But like this is an example with the Vive controllers. And, you know, it's just a matter of finding a more comfortable way to hold a controller, especially since...
Oh my goodness, number 4.
Yeah, so actually number 4 is the most common one, especially for Quest.
Goodness. Oh my goodness.
Or for Rift. And
these look like... This seems like the debate we had when the
seems like a
N64
joke.
controller came out.
But,
and nobody knew you're supposed to grip it in the fucking center.
But here's the thing, is with your rhythm games, you don't need the buttons. Like, you're literally just swinging the controllers around. So
No, I know, but it's still, you can't help but look at that and just see it. It looks like some meme, like someone's just doing a joke of like, yes, I grip my mouse like this, and it's like, you know, just crazy claw hand.
But
it looks like that. But
here's the thing, I will say,
serious,
especially with the Rift controllers. That's been a big thing. Is yes, you can hold it like default style, like wand style, and it works. And with the Rift controllers, it works a lot better because these are really small and lightweight controllers. But then when you go to the Index, and this was something that This was something that Alex got to experience firsthand. The Index controllers are actually really heavy, relatively speaking.
Yeah, they're beefy things.
Basically, if you're doing the standard wand style movement, you put a lot of strain on your wrists, especially at higher speeds. So basically, the solution is to just flatten out your wrist, and you're basically like palm slapping to play, and it is a lot more comfortable. And the biggest complaint that I see right away with those kinds of controllers is, one, they look like they will probably track a lot better if they're now using IR for tracking, but that's a very fixed style of gameplay, and I am looking forward to seeing if those are actually like if there's actually sensors in that ring structure. And if there's not, how long it's going to take for people to just start like taking a Dremel to their $150 controllers.
Oh god.
Oh goodness.
I mean, but like that's what I expect to happen. And actually, just a quick tangent off of this, because the big takeaway was just new revision to PSVR. I do find that neat. Hopefully it's good.
Sorry, does it list the frequency, the display type technology, the resolution,
the only
FOV?
The only thing that they have to say is, because this is clearly a shareholder's slideshow,
right.
And it says enhanced tracking, connect to PS5 with a single cord to simplify setup, and new controller with with features found in the DualSense wireless controller, along with great ergonomics. That's it.
Oh, great. So, single cable to connect to the PS5, that sounds awful, because it means won't be compatible with PC.
Correct.
And it's probably DisplayPort. I know DisplayPort has the capability to do all the things of power, data.
It's got to be some sort of USB interface.
No, it'll be HDMI. I don't think PS5 has DisplayPort.
Has to. Like other than that, what is it? USB? Could it be something like where the Quest 2, where it's wirelessly transmitted, but you could plug in a cable, but this is without plugging in the cable.
It
So as
probably
a
is like
result,
some proprietary connector.
well, no, because it has to be adapted to the current PS5, and I don't think there's USB Type C on there. I think it's just USB Type A plus, obviously, power and I hope DisplayPort, but then HDMI.
Honestly, what I foresee them doing is it might be a single tether coming off of the headset, but then it's going to be a branch out cable like on the Index.
No, I don't think so, because they said a single thing into the PlayStation 5. Like,
I'll believe it when I see it. Honestly.
I'm
but like,
going
no,
off
what I think
the-
it might just be is power plus like audio from the USB, like what a lot of the headsets really do, and then wireless data transmission, and that's it.
No, I'm going off memory, but I think there is a proprietary port on the back of the PS5, so it probably is that, if I am remembering it right.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. Well, someone just needs to bring up a picture of the PS5 rear. We'll be able to find out.
Not
but
me,
yes, we can.
because I am driving in virtual reality.
Yeah,
yeah, we can go on to the next topic, I think.
Yeah, this one was just a me splooge topic. So we talked about this about a month ago, but a company known as Tundra, they're releasing their new full body Tundra trackers they were crowdfunding their new Tundra trackers. The idea with these things is it is a competitor to the two revisions of Vive full body trackers that are the only real feasible options that exist. Their Kickstarter just concluded yesterday, and they had a goal set for what was it?
It was like 125,000.
No,
and
250,000. They raised $1.37 million,
which is an average of $368 per person.
Mm-hmm. Which
I think is ridiculous, because it was 3,781 backers, I think.
Yeah, that sounds like money laundering.
No. So the reason why this actually has some viability is, first of all, there's already they've already sent out some prototypes for testing, and I believe Frick, you ended up it was Martin before he logged off for the night. He posted a link to one of the prototypes being sent out to just random YouTuber man, and the prototype is literally a 3D printed housing with all of the internal gadgetry that makes the thing function. And in the final release, it's going to be the same thing. However, it's going to be, instead of a 3D printed housing, it's going to be the full injector molded plastic housing. The big thing to do with this is it is about 50% smaller than the Vive trackers. And instead of the Vive setup where you need one dongle per tracker.
Oh, the Vive setup's so bad.
They're basically offering 3 different dongles that can support 3 to 5 to 7 trackers per one single USB dongle.
So honestly, while I understand this is a lot better than the Vive sort of setup, I still feel like this is jank, because the only time I would ever buy these, which I probably wouldn't, but the only time I would be tempted to, is if someone like Valve makes them, where it works with the current tracking, where the device tracks the lighthouses. Because just setting up like additional tracking is not something I actually want to do.
Right.
Nor mess with like any other sort of settings, really. Because like I basically wanted first party.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no, so now, Alex, what did you think about the new Vive headsets they announced?
I can't remember. I know it was disappointing. I think it's like no difference in terms of specs.
It's Vive Pro specs with a couple of additional features. They're still using the Vive wands for this professional model.
Yeah, I remember looking at that, and I kind of agree with the general reaction at the time, which was like they've had 2 to 3 years to beat the Index, and they haven't.
Yep.
Well, okay, so the upgrade had 5K and 120 hertz.
But 5K is. I hate it when they refer to that.
That's the selling point.
No, but 5K, like what is that? Just
I think it's
because they seem to add the horizontal, but not the. I mean, so add the vertical, but not the horizontal.
So it's 2.5 in each eye, I think.
I think it's like, the equivalent of dual's 1600p.
Yeah.
So it's the same as the Index.
Well, wait. So sorry, correction. It's the 1600p equivalent of 1440p. So it is more vertical space, but that's basically it.
Oh, but the price was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's $1,400.
So it's more than the index.
It's more than the index.
More than the index, lower refresh rate, potentially lower FOV because it's their lenses and stuff like that.
I don't get it.
Great. That's what I'm saying. 2 years later, index is still the best headset. Same with the HP G2, I want to call it.
It is
G2 or G3. So yes, that has a much higher resolution than the index at like 2000 by 2000 per eye, or it's something like that, like 2048 by 2048 per eye. But it's still 90 FPS, 110 degrees FOV, and it isn't compatible, or it doesn't come with anywhere near decent controllers or base stations. It's still the stupid light thing that like the PSVR uses. It's just like, I don't know. Valve just seem to know what to do, and it's sad they probably won't make an Index 2.
Oh, they're definitely gonna. You know how well the Index sold? Wasn't it like one of the best-selling things on Steam for a while?
Yes, they actually don't make a lot of money from it. They've said before, like, they're not really doing this for money because it's not making them a lot of money.
Yeah, it wasn't like the highest selling thing. It was just the way that chart thing on Steam works is how much money rather than how many units. So because it's something that cost like over $1,000, and they were selling like so many of them, it would like stayed at the top of that chart for quite a while.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, on the tracking thing, because I have opinions on it, Microsoft should just re-release the Kinect for the Xbox One, like that one, but make it compatible on PC. Say here's no. Like, you don't have to put anything on you to do the tracking.
A driver for
Here you go.
So the problem, I will say, and just from firsthand experience in VR chat with a buddy who was experimenting with his Kinect, the issue is because you only have front side tracking, essentially one direction tracking. There's a lot of limitations, and it's a lot more challenging to recalibrate with just current software implementations into just the open VR realm.
Yeah, that's because it's like third-party software. It's not officially supported.
Correct. And right now, and then the obvious counter to that has in the VR space has been, okay, so if I were to set up two Kinects, basically 180 degrees from each other, or set up on opposite sides from each other, that would be a better solution, right? There's no current way to do that, as far as I can tell. There are technically some ways, but it's extremely jank and it doesn't work the way that people want it to.
Oh.
Yeah, but like I said, that's because it's like third-party things. It's not official.
Yeah, no.
Like, the tracking on the Xbox itself is really good. Like, it can do it just fine with just one. And if Microsoft make some drivers for it and re-release it with like regular USB as a VR tracker that you don't need to put sensors on yourself, I think it will sell really well.
Especially considering it comes in at a lower price point. It's like the entry-level body tracking. Yeah, it's not going to be as good as the stick-on pads, but it's not for people who want that kind of accuracy. It's just like, hey, instead of spending, $500 on these 7 different sensors or $350 or whatever, you can spend $150 and get in, a plug-and-play thing that works good enough.
Yeah.
Plus, and there's enthusiast bodysuits already out there. I think there's one by Xens, which is out there. But the interesting thing about Xens is you don't just buy the suit; you have to buy a subscription to the service to keep using it.
And that's the problem.
No,
but the thing is, it's super, super accurate.
Well, that's fine.
I hate subscription services. Like, if I can avoid a subscription service, I really, really will. I much prefer paying up front.
Looking at this right now, I got, after a while, me and Alex were talking about this a while ago. We were looking at a bunch of ice cream subscription services. I think I signed up for one of them for like $60 a month. And it's the best decision I ever made. But I see what you're saying.
Frick, yeah, sure. But what is your opinion on vanilla flavored ice cream?
If it's got to be vanilla and nothing but. Maybe a little bit of the caramel sea salt, but...
No, but what do you think about like how many companies they make a vanilla and it's not vanilla, it's bland.
Is that the name, the official in laboratory name?
No, but you know what I mean? Like they're like, oh no, this isn't vanilla flavor. It's just like milk flavored.
Vanilla-like product.
Anytime you're dealing with a flavor that's so ubiquitous and so easy to produce as vanilla, you really have to look at like the fat content of the milk. You have to look at the milk solid content. You have to look at all kinds of stuff. It's complicated.
Well, that's the thing, because the flavored ones aren't real vanilla. I don't like them. If it's real vanilla, it's really good, and I would buy it.
It's also really expensive because
Haagen-Dazs, just Haagen-Dazs vanilla. It's all you need.
But
Haagen-Dazs's vanilla beans very good.
Yeah. So
we're a tech podcast.
Yeah. So we are at around the 1 hour mark. So I'm going to say let's go ahead and wrap up here, and we will absolutely pick off in an after show here in a moment. So yeah, unless anybody has anything else they want to throw out there real quick.
Nope.
All right. Awesome. So yeah, thank you for our live listeners for tuning into the Extreme Hardware Podcast. We will be proceeding in the after show momentarily after we wrap up this recording. For our recorded listeners, you can check us out on Sundays at around 7 to 7:30 Eastern Time on twitch.tv/ExtremeHW. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you, everyone, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.